Hello. My project is basically looking at what does Kansas City spend its money on. I'm going to compare the 2018 and 2019 list of expenditures by vendor. Since there are many people who are not working currently and therefore are not paying taxes, the city of Kansas City needs to be proactive and look at ways to cut their expenses. So the question for for this project is what expenses can be cut or minimized in order to save money? I went about this first of all by looking at each of the data sets. Both data sets were over 137,000 lines with 13 columns. I used Python to combine both datasets into one big dataset. I then deleted the columns of information I did not need to bring those columns from 13 to 4. Once they were combined, I was able to sort them so that all the expense types were together, and that would allow me to do many queries depending on what I was exactly looking for, such as what was expenses were done by a specific year or what expenses were done for a specific expense type. When I looked at that list, I realized that there were certain expenses that just cannot be cut. Expenses such as retirement expenses, wages, insurance, taxes, workmen's compensation, lease payments, and repairs, to name a few. There are also expenses that are tied to a contract. Those con those expenses have a contractual obligation in which we have probably agreed to either A, use a specific service for a specific amount, or B, purchase a certain amount of product. Those those expenses really can't be cut because we will get a penalty if we cut them unless we can renegotiate those contracts. So therefore, the expenses that once I eliminated those that could not be cut, I looked at the ones that could be cut. There are some that are really that stand out of things that could be cut in order to save money for the city. The first one I looked at was training expenses. While training is important, training expenses, as you will notice on the graph, did grow from 2018 and to 2019. The growth was not that big. However, with trying to cut money, we do need to eliminate all seminars and other training classes that will entail any cost or travel to attend. We also need to modify all new employee training to ensure that it does not cost any money and that we're not using any outside help that would bill us for that training. The next thing that I looked at was bad debt. Now, bad debt expense is the amount of an accounts receivable that cannot be collected. When looking at 2018 and 2019, this expense has more than doubled from 2018. So therefore, there's definitely a problem and something that we need to really examine. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a more aggressive collection plan to ensure that all accounts receivable is collected in a timely manner. We also need to revamp all credit requirements to weed out all companies with bad credit or that have been slow in paying their invoices to alleviate this problem before it even begins. But since this is such a drastic thing, I wanted to look at what companies made up that bad debt, if there's a way we can address it to ensure that this is not a continuing problem and that we can cut this cost. So if you look at the graph, you'll notice that there are three different companies that do have bad debt. However, the Mid-America Assistance Company is the one that makes up 90%, if not more, of that expense. So in order to eliminate that and to get it down, I want to have some recommendations. The first thing would be to meet with the account manager to discuss this issue, to find out why they are not paying their bills and why we had to write their bills off to bad debt. The second thing would be to examine any contract in force to see what actions can be taken to eliminate the issue, such as going to court, arbitration, and that type of thing, in order to eliminate this. The third item that we could probably do is we can put them on a cash only status until all their invoices are paid in full, and they demonstrate that they are going to be able to continually pay their invoices in a timely manner. The next thing I looked at was travel. That is definitely something that can be eliminated. And in this day and age of COVID, is probably not a good idea anyways, is that we don't want to risk the employees to become sick. But if you do look at the 2018 and 2019 graph, you will see that travel did substantially go down in 2019, which is definitely a good thing. However, I think there needs to be more cuts. The first thing we need to do is we need to eliminate all travel both within the city and outside the city limits to ensure, again, as I said, that all of our employees stay safe, but also because at this time there really doesn't need to be travel with the technology that we have available, which leads me into point two, recommendation. The second thing was we need to have all of our meetings to be held by using Zoom and not in person. This alone will eliminate a large amount of our expenses in travel. Since those are three of the things that I've noticed that we do need to change. Now, since the revenue in 2020, 2021, and possibly 2022 will be down substantially, it is vitally important for the city of Kansas City to look at every way to cut costs so that they can avoid cutting those services that are needed within the city. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. I look forward to hearing your replies.